under outline, here we go, subtotal. Okay, what I'm going to do for each change in category, and by the way, when you do subtotals, they have to be sorted. So, or grouped. They don't have to be sorted, but they do have to be grouped. So all the bakery, all the canned goods, all the cereal, condiments, and so forth, they're all sorted by alphabetical order, and therefore they are grouped, but they do have to be grouped. So each change in category, I just want to count the number of items in that category. And if I say OK, it gives me a subtotal. And what Dick Barrett wanted was a subtotal on each category, and when he copied it and pasted it some other place, which is what I'm going to show you, if I copy, and let me just paste it below here. It puts everything back. And all he wanted was the result up here. So to do that, you have to select the cells. What I'm doing is with the mouse. However, if you again do Ctrl Shift and the asterisk, it selects a contiguous range. Now I really don't want the grand total in here, so
hey Fred.
Yes, sir.
I think you can you just hit your up arrow at that point to remove the highlighting on the last row?
I just did a drag. So you're saying okay. up arrow? Let me see.
Shift up arrow.
No, shift up arrow. All right. Shift up arrow. Yes, sir. Cool. Shift up arrow. All right. What I want.
If you do that again, you see, you had lines 85 and 86, so you only went up one line. Now, when you're in 85, if you do that again, what will you get? Line 84?
Well, let's try it. Shift up arrow. It went to the next cell in the range that I have selected.
Yeah, you're just working on what you have highlighted.
Right. Okay. Now, again, the problem is when you copy and paste it normally, you get everything. And what we want is we just want this here. So if I do the Alt key and the semicolon or the colon, as the case may be, that selects the visible cells, meaning that when we did the subtotals, there are missing rows here. There's no 2, 3, 4, 5. There's no 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. They're hidden. Therefore, they are not visible. These are the visible cells. And if I do a Control C now, and that copies them, and if I go someplace to paste them, I just get a copy of the visible cells. Yes. I just get a copy of the visible cells. So the keyboard shortcut, and this is again a follow-up. Rather than going through a series of steps initiated by F5, I believe, go to special, visible cells only, then OK. Rather than go through those 3 steps, the shortcut key again is the Alt key and the semicolon colon. That's just a follow-up again on how to select visible cells if and when you need it. Okay?
So in other words, you press the Alt, semicolon, and then press the colon key. Those 2 keys.
No. I'm using the reference Alt and semicolon. It's the same key. It's only the one key. Alt and semicolon.
Okay.
I don't know if it should be named Alt colon or Alt semicolon.
Semicolon, right.
That's my misnomer.
Probably alt
If you want
semicolon.
alt, if you want alt colon, you would have to
You have to
say
do an
alt
alt
shift
shift.
colon.
Colon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you know, when we do the reveal codes, we refer to it. I refer to it as control key and the tilde. The tilde happens to be a raised key, and I have not used reference to that as control shift tilde. I've always used control tilde. The control key and the tilde key reveals any formulas. Control. So those are my formulas. I just did control tilde. It is true, though, that the tilde is the raised character above the symbol, and the tilde on my keyboard, standard keyboard, is next to the numeral 1. So that's why I question whether I should call it a colon or semicolon. That's just my background. Control tilde I've never called control shift tilde. Okay, any other comments or questions? This is Dick Barrett's data, but I added some things to it. And his shopping list, let me get rid of this. Let me hide my controls. Okay. What he did, he has different items, and I happen to have sorted it. I didn't mean to, but I did. I sorted it in alphabetical order, and they're in different departments. It should really be sorted by department. So let's do that. Let's come in here and right click and sort A to Z. All right, so we have now when you sort like I just did, it takes the entire contiguous region here. So when you're designing something like this, you don't want to have any blank columns. You don't want to have any blank rows. So just to illustrate again, when you take the data, I'm going to do a Control Z, and you see that fruits and vegetables, there's one apple here. So if I do that sort again, I'm just doing a Control Y to repeat that. Where are my apples? Let me do a Control F.
I mean, you have it. You have it, fruits and apples. It's on row 36.
I thank you. All right, I was just going to illustrate, and I didn't type it incorrectly. I was going to illustrate Control F to do a find, and did I go past it? I think I went past it.
Yeah.
There it is. Okay. So yeah, there it is. So I did it twice. So here we are. So it takes that data. It just doesn't sort this column is the point. It takes the data associated with that column or columns. It's as if we had done a Control Shift asterisk to select the entire region and then did the sort. And if I did the sort by item now, it's taking all of the associated data. So I'm just counting on it by doing the click on one cell in that column. I'm counting on it to do my sort the way I want it to take all the data. But to play safe, you may want to take the entire region and then do your, you can select it with the mouse, and you might want to do your sort based upon that. There's, of course, more than one way to do something. So what he has here is his shopping list, and I'm going to put it back. No, I'm going to leave it this way, and I'm going to do what he wanted to do, and that is a filter, but he wanted to just put the quantity, and anything that had a value that's greater than 0 What happened to my my yellow cursor? I lost my yellow cursor.
Hmm.
You
Interesting.
didn't have a yellow cursor whenever you had a cross. Move it someplace else.
Ah, yeah. There's another tool that I would have had to add in when I'm in Excel and I want the plus to be yellow too. You're right, John. Okay, so the filter that we're going to do is to filter the quantity that's greater than zero. Anything greater than zero will be something that it wants to order. So if we do a drop down here and we do a number filter, and one of the number filters is greater than, we can do equal to, does not equal, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, between, the top 10, above average, below average. But the one we want here today is greater than and 0. So anything that's greater than 0 now are the ones that appear. That's what Dick wanted to show us.
Well, another way is if you do the filter, you just don't click the one that says blank.
Okay, and let me undo. All right,
You
and
do the filter, click on the filter,
yes.
and then remove the one that says blanks. Don't check it.
Of course, of course, of course.
Click OK.
Yeah, of course.
There
Yeah,
you go.
yeah. But this is more elegant, you know. It's showing values that are greater than 0, you know.
Remove the blanks.
Everything in Excel is a Swiss Army knife, and sometimes you use the big blade, and sometimes you use the little blade. I mean, Excel has been so helpful to me over the years, and the filters. You know, we have to ask the question: why do we use filters? Filters are enabling you to select a subset of your data, and also to organize your data from, you know, the sorting obviously organizes your data. And in this case, we're illustrating that you can do a different kind of sort greater than or equal to, well, here, just greater than 0. Okay, now I expanded that. Because I wanted to illustrate. Let me take the filter off because it's messing up my outline here. So let me take the filter off. Select all.
This one that says clear filter. Okay.
Yeah, it's clear filter. I just took the filter off. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
All right. So I wanted to expand this, and I'm going to unhide 2 columns that are hidden. Okay. So you notice A, B, and then it goes to, what did it go to? F.
E.
A, B, E. So if I do B and E, just highlight those 2, right click and unhide, it shows that I have a price and I have a cost, which is the product of the price. I'm going to show you today that you really don't need that column D, but I wanted to show you that for any beginners that need to have concept. Okay, the dog agrees. All right. So I wanted to show you the price, and the price is a lookup. It's a lookup, and it's using XLOOKUP. I have a lot of other stuff here, but basically, I wish I had my yellow. I should have annotation tools, shouldn't I? Control Shift H. Alt Control Shift H. All right, so I have some. All right, let me do it this way. Okay, let me see if this works. Yeah, I didn't want to do that. Let me scroll over. Let me hide my controls again. Control Shift H. All right, and let me scroll over here. Okay, the XLOOKUP. Let's get my, where's my annotation here? Nope, I lost my annotation. Why did I lose my annotation? Control Shift H. Annotate. Yeah. All right, not very neat, but it'll have to do right now. The XLOOKUP. The XLOOKUP looks up a value, and then it looks for an array, which is a range of cells that corresponds to that value, and then it returns a value based upon a match. And if it's not found, you could put some other text in, such as what I've done over here is I put in maybe a dash, a hyphen. And there's different search modes, one of which is, or match mode rather, different match modes, and one of which is 0 for an exact match. So I'll show you my formula, but I want you to understand that you're looking up a value in another array, returning a value. In this case, I'm looking up the price. You'll see that I'm looking up the price of the item. And when I find the price, it's going to return that. If it doesn't find it, it's just going to put maybe a dash or something. And just in general, so you know, the old VLOOKUP, I don't think I will ever use again. VLOOKUP did something similar, but you were constricted to having it look up only the value in the first column, and then you had to know which column you wanted the answer from, column 2, 3, 4, 5, or whatever. And if you move things around, you'd have to redo your lookup. XLOOKUP, you do not have to do that. So let's take a look at the let me get rid of the annotation here. Okay, so let's take a look at the let's take a look at what's going on here. All right, like beauty, drugs, and I need the price. Okay, so the price has this formula. Okay, it's looking up in, ignore the if, ignore the if. It's looking up E2. In E2, I have the item. Column E is the item. And it's looking up values that are in another table called lookup values. Here are all my items and all the prices that I've entered in so far. So it's looking up all these values, and when it finds a match, it will take that and return it. So let's break this down a little bit. It's looking up a bar of soap. So it finds bar of soap, and the price is in this array in column B, and it's going to return to 297. So that's where the 297 comes from. It looks up the item in column E. It goes to the lookup values in that table that I showed you. And when it finds the bar of soap, it returns the values in the very next column, which is the price. And if it's not found, I simply put the word not found. The 0 is not a value. The 0 indicates it's an exact match. In the VLOOKUP days, we have exact matches and we have inexact matches where you look up values and it returns a value in a range. So let's take a look at what happens now if we did not have the see, what am I trying to say here? Oh, suppose I didn't have the bar of soap here, okay? So let's just say the bar of soap is not Dove, but Ivory. Okay, Ivory is not on my list, so it reports not found. But the exact match is what I have programmed this for. Dove, it is an exact match, so it returns the price $2.97. That's what is returned from column B in my lookup values. Column B has my prices. Column A is looking for the match. And it did not have to be this way. The item could have been in any column I chose. The price could have been in any column I chose. The power of the XLOOKUP, it does not restrict you to looking up things in the first column. I happen to have done that, but you're not restricted. So far, so good? Or do you want to try this? I can send this to you to try on your own.
Fred?
What
Yes.
version of Excel do you have XLOOKUP, Fred?
Oh, you first made us aware of that. I think you and Dick Barrett made, he has Office 365. I have a bastardized version of 2016 and 365. Don't ask me how that works, but I think the XLOOKUP is 2016 on. I don't think it's before that. Might be 2013, but I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. I think that it's only in 365.
Yeah.
And when you say a bastardized version, you can just go up into your About and see what version you're using. Clearly, if you're using XLOOKUP, you've got an Office 365 version here.
Yeah,
And
but I say it's bastardized, John, because it updates. But when I go to see the activation of my licenses, I do not have a continued license. My license for 365 has expired, but it continues to update. So go figure. That's why I call it a bastardized version. I just don't know. I started with 2013. I have a licensed copy of 2013. And at that time, we got Office 365 with it. It was bundled together. I upgraded to 2016, and when it updates, I think it's updating 365. When I turn my computer on, it says Office 365, but I do not have an activated license of 365, so go figure. Does anybody want to play with this? I take that.
Yeah, I would like to play with it. Fred,
Yes.
one question.
Sure.
This is Henry. Does the table that you're looking up those values have to be sorted?
No. No. All right. Let's.
The column A doesn't have to be sorted.
No.
But if it's sorted, then it will perform better, though.
Probably. All right. Let's say I put it in descending order. Let me see if. Yeah, I'm still getting my values.
Yeah, okay.
Now the lookup in VLOOKUP, if you're doing an exact match, also does not have to be sorted. Like if you're looking up state codes, they do not have to be sorted if an exact match. If you're looking up tax rates, that has to be sorted because you're talking about a range of values. So that has to be sorted. But if you're using text, which well, I'm looking up text, getting a match on text, and that does not have to be sorted.
What about if two items have the same price, same value? Would that matter, or just show one at a time?
Two items have the same price.
Yeah.
Now, I have different items. They may have the same price. It's looking up the words. The words is what it's looking up. It's looking up.
Oh, right. Yeah, the item name.
Okay,
Yeah. the word.
E2.
Yeah.
E2 is looking up in column E. And if I go down to the next one, it looks up E3 and E4. So this is relative. This moves down. But for those of you who know what this is, let me explain to other people. This is what we call absolute cell reference. This does not change. The A1 to A200 is looking up in this table. It never changes. It's looking up that range.
Yes, I got
value.
you. Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. But the symbols $$1 mean, and $A, $200 mean it's a fixed range that it's looking up. But the lookup value is actually moving down. It's all relative.
Yeah. Right.
I'll tell you what, Henry, since you're the only one who seems to be interested, I think after I'm finished, I'm going to send it. I'll send it. I'll put it in the chat. And I just want to do a couple more things. I think I pointed out what happens when the value is not found. I've illustrated that by putting in a different word here, and it says not found, and that's because of my formula. I put in quotes, not found. Anything in quotes is considered text, so that's the message you would get if it's an item that's not found. What to do if an item does not have a price? Okay, so if an item doesn't have a price, let's see what happens. I want deodorant. I put in 1. And what I've done here is I simply indicate that in my lookup table, not from the formula or function, but in my lookup table, I have the dashes here for items for which I don't have prices. That's the only reason right now that you're going to see a dash if it doesn't have a price. Could have put something else. I could have said no price or something like that, but that's what I indicated.
You could have used an if statement in there to put the dash in, right?
Yeah.
Fred, are you seeing the red annotation marks on your screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not good.
And that's a zoom feature?
No. That's that's a zoom feature.
So can you clear it? Certainly, if you went from one screen to another, Zoom must have a way to get rid of the previous annotations.
No.
So Zoom must have a way to clear
let me go to let me just clear it. Let me clear it from Zoom. Sorry
as you
about
said, this is a learning thing. Oh, that was easy.
Yeah. I see these presentations on the internet all the time. These guys have, the yellow mouse, the zoom in, the annotations. I trying to learn, how they do it, and then you run into, things like that. The annotations don't go away.
If you're seeing it in YouTube, you can bet that they took a lot of editing to fix up what they did in YouTube.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not live.
Right. All right. The suppressing of the blanks. I'm not going to get into that, but there are if statements in my function that suppress the blanks. I'm not going to get into that. What I want to get into, though, is if you're a beginner, you want to understand. Oops, it's still annotating. Clear. Clear all drawings. Close the annotation. All right. All right. If you're a beginner, you want to learn that there are formulas that you can use in Excel. So the formula in here for the cost is a formula where I multiply B2 times C2. So to illustrate that, let me take out the formula that I have in here. So all, okay, all formulas start with an equal sign. Equals B2 is, it was B2. B2 is pointing to the quantity of this item, and the asterisk is used for times. The plus is used for addition, the dash is used, or the minus sign is used for subtraction, the asterisk is used for multiplication, and I'm going to multiply it times C2. So that gives me my cost. And I've added something in there, again, for the advanced guys, to suppress errors. And if there's an error, I put in a dash here. You'll see that when I send you the file. But suffice it to say, again, for beginners, equal starts a formula. You can click on the cell, B2, and it puts it right into the formula. The asterisk is multiplication. And you click on the C2, it puts it right into the formula or function, and you press enter, it gives you the answer. But like I said, I suppressed the errors with this if error function. Not going to do that today, as I also am not going to do the suppression of blanks. So what you do is you multiply the quantity times the price, quantity times price for each row. But once you get one formula in place, this is for beginners or those who have forgotten, you get a formula in place, you just drag it. Let me just do it the right way that I had the other formula there, just in case. Let me take this one here. Okay, let me just take the first formula and I'm going to drag it all the way down the column. Rather than typing the formula for every single row, I'm just going to drag it. Oh, hold on. I know there's a keyboard thing for it. This is for beginners. I have a beginner I saw in the audience. So if I drag it all the way down, it copies that formula all the way down. Andy, your comment? Your shortcut?
You just demonstrated exactly what I was going to comment on.
Oh, okay.
By relying on the mouse instead of the keyboard, you, if not this time, overwhelmingly you're going to undershoot or overshoot. So over here, if you hold your Shift key, you're in D2. Hold your Shift key. Go right arrow. Nope. Hit your escape. Get rid of the. You're not doing anything.
Well, I'm doing it my way. What you said was to hold the Shift key down, and
yes.
You can do it that way. What do you want me to do, Andy? Go ahead.
Up there.
Yep.
Okay. You select D2.
Yep.
Hold your Shift key down.
Right.
Right arrow.
Right arrow? Right cursor
Yeah,
key?
hit your escape. Hit your escape. Get rid of everything there. Okay. Click in D2.
Yeah,
Now hold your shift key down.
yeah.
While you're holding the shift, right arrow. Still holding the shift key.
I got the right arrow.
Press and release the down key. Press and release the down arrow key.
You lost me.
Hold the shift,
Yeah.
and now press your end key, and then
Oh,
your down
N key,
arrow.
N key. Yeah, okay, gotcha. Yeah.
End,
Yeah,
down
yeah,
arrow.
yeah. Got it.
And now still holding the shift, now your left arrow.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Gotcha.
Okay. And now if you just do Control D,
Gotcha.
your formula's there.
All right, gotcha. Very good.
But you don't overshoot or undershoot your list.
Well,
If you're dealing with
yeah, another way when you talk about the shift key, if you're copying a formula, you don't have to do a thing until you get down to your last cell, okay? And then you hold the shift key down. Sorry about that. You gotta select the first one. Okay. All right. All right. If you hold the first one down, hold the shift key, and just go down. If you overshoot something, this is what I tell beginners. If you happen to overshoot something, you can always, as long as you're holding the shift key down, click on the last cell. If you undershoot, as long as your finger's on the shift key, you can click on the last cell. So the overshooting and undershooting, I make beginners be aware that they can hold the shift key. It's like an anchor. The shift key clicks on the first cell, and it clicks on the last cell, and you have it highlighted.
okay.
Moving on now. Beginners do the following. They multiply going across. They copy the formula down, which is what I have, and then they sum it up at the bottom, which is, I put it down here. The sum function is, let me illustrate that by doing it again as a beginner. I'm highlighting everything. No, I'm not doing it right. Hold on. Okay. All right. Boom, boom. All right. I highlight everything and going all the way down, 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 down. And then what I'm doing is I'm going to the toolbar in the home group, clicking on the Greek letter sigma for sum, and it adds up all of my numbers that have been multiplied and gives me 115.54. Now it was already done here, so what it's doing here, it's essentially doubling it. So that's just to illustrate home and sum will give you the sum of whatever you have highlighted, which is that entire column. But there's another way, and this is the way that we also want to be aware of, and John Stanfield mentioned this last time. You do not need the product here. You do not need it. So let's hide this column here. You don't have to have that at all. Okay, you have to know the quantity and the price. And what the sum product function that John did last time, you can just think of it this way. It is an array of column B times the array in column C, and it's row by row. So what it does, the sum product is going to take the 4 times the 297, 0 times 0, 1 times 799, 1 times 0, 1 times 1349. The sum then is the last step. First it does the product, row by row, or whatever cells you have selected in the array, and then it sums it up. And so here is that SUMPRODUCT function that I have created, and it's taking everything in B2 times everything in C2. Now the syntax is not the multiplication symbol, but simply a comma. Everything in B2, step by step, B2 times C2, B3 times C3, B4 times C4, and all the way down to B150 times C150. That's what the SUMPRODUCT does. First it takes the product, and then when it gets all the products, it sums it up. So this is kind of something we've done before, and this is a good illustration of it, where you do not have to go and multiply and add. You simply have to do a SUMPRODUCT. A deep sigh I hear. Any comments or questions? Okay, I think I have come to the end of my stuff. Again, this is an evolving shopping list, courtesy of Dick Barrett, where he put in the quantity. I added the price. The price is a lookup using XLOOKUP. And then I have, for the purpose of illustration of SUMPRODUCT, I use SUMPRODUCT to give a total for the order. I am now going to turn it over to Henry, and I'm going to stop my share.
Okay.
And Henry's going to do, like we've been emphasizing with Excel, there's more than one way to do something. He's going to illustrate how you can get a total using SUMIF.
Right. Okay. So this SUMIF has some VBA behind it. Okay. The one that I sent you doesn't have VBA behind it. All right.
Okay.
So let me. No, let me not. How do I get rid of the? Okay, so when I open up the Excel file, it gives a message form. Okay, opens up a message form, and basically this workbook will show the concept and use of SUMIF and SUMIFs. We will quickly review the background for today's discussion, and we will talk about SUMIF and SUMIFs. Okay. The reason why I put up a message form rather than a message box is that in a message box, you cannot copy the contents of a message box and save it somewhere. All right. Okay.
You illustrated that one time. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Let me bring this down. Maybe increase the size. How do I memorize this? Oh, okay. So basically, this was what Dick Barrett was showing us last week as a quick review, is that he has stocks and EFTs and CFCs, basically his investments, and by different categories, and he sums it up. And what he wants to do is, and I guess Fred had mentioned it at the beginning, is that he wants to get these subtotals into a report like this. Okay. So at the last workshop, I mentioned, well, we could use SUMIFs to give this particular result. So basically, over here is the SUMIFs of the subtotals for each of the product types. stocks, options, ETFs, CEFs, certificates of deposit, and so forth. Okay, so this is the subtotal. So as you can see, stocks, options, the subtotal here is 170. It brings it, okay, 170 and 605, 605, and so forth. So we use the SUMIF function, and the SUMIF function basically, let me blow this up a little bigger. Is that you select a range for you to sum up your numbers, okay? And then you specify the criteria range. The range of cells that you are gonna choose the particular product type. And then the criteria is what value of this range that you want me to select to sum those values. So basically color code this. Basically, you select the range to sum, which is blue, which is the value. So we're going to select this entire range, right, from B4 all the way down to B54, okay? And that's what I have here, B4 to B54 is blue, okay? This column here. And then we're going to take the criteria range, and that is the holding summary, the product type. So we select all the rows in this column, product type, which is column A, okay? And then out of this column, what particular product type do we want? And that's the criteria. And the criteria is over here, stock options. So basically, it's gonna take stock items and find any rows that matches with stock options here, and then sum the values of B to give me this number, all right? So if you look at the formula, right? So I have the values, the column for values, A4 to A54 is the product type. In which particular product type that I want to sum, which is stock options, which is D4 over here, okay? And this one is D5, which is ETF and CEFs, okay? So it's gonna sum all the values for ETFs and CEFs, okay? Now, you can use SUMIFs also, because you can also use SUMIFs for one criteria, okay? Now let's expand this a little bit and use an example where we use two criterias. Here, we added an extra column, which is called brokerage, or you can call accounts. In this example, we have like 3 accounts, A, B, and C. And what we have is, what is the total value for stock options from, brokerage account A, what it is for brokerage account B, what it is from brokerage account C. Now, you notice that, all these numbers seems to be the same as the SUMIFs, because here I did not add in the second criteria, okay? So here it says, we do this with, as an exercise to add in what the second criteria is. So the second criteria in red is the brokerage account, right, in column C. And then criteria is the particular brokerage account letter, okay? And final solution is over here. So the equation we use is for each product type, okay, is the sum, right? We will look at the total values in the value column. For the particular product type, right, is the column A, which contains the product type, and then this specific product type, which is column D, right? Particular specific product type. And then the second criteria is the brokerage, the range of brokerage, okay, which is column C. And then within that range of brokerage, which particular brokerage we're talking about. So for brokerage A, it's going to be H4 over here, right? And we're going to use this to select from this column to get the particular brokerage to do the sum, right? Okay, and for brokerage C, it's going to be J4. Okay. So J4 is C. So here's the equation for E5 for stock options. Within stock options, the brokerage. All right. This is for brokerage B. Is everybody following me? Everybody understand what I'm saying? Or
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
I'm
Yeah.
following you up.
okay, so I color coded this so easy to match up, and basically, you know, that's how you can get breakdowns of multiple categories. Okay. And as you notice, like brokerage, it doesn't have to be sorted, okay? Any of these columns doesn't have to be sorted, right? This column doesn't have to be sorted, right? It will add it all together. And that's what and that's it. Very quick.
That's
Okay.
great. SUMIFs is terrific. Terrific to use. Now, is this something that can equally be done with a pivot table?
Yes, 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 yeah. I've done it,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
pivot tables is something that I struggle with yet because I don't use it often enough. But this looks like you should be able to do it with a pivot table as well. But I think we should all know how to use SUMIFs and product ifs and Sumproduct and those things because they're good for stuff that you can't do with a pivot table. But
I think the beauty of the pivot table is that, for me anyway, it's simpler than writing than putting in all the formulas. If the data is laid out well, some ifs are great, but if you're dealing with a regular data layout, Henry, like you have an A, B, and C there, a pivot table is like a couple of clicks, and you don't even have to know anything about the formulas if you use the wizard.
Now,
So, like if you made a copy of your worksheet, push some ifs, and call it solution pivot, I think in a few seconds you could do a pivot table.
yeah, I have one comment about that because I have done it with a pivot table if you'd like me to show it. But what the SUMIF criteria does, you'll notice that his data has one row that has the word total in it. Can you scroll to the left, Henry?
Yeah.
I want to see the
This
original.
total that I just added manually,
No, I
to
want
do
you
the
to
sum.
scroll the raw data. Scroll to the left.
Go to the
Column
left.
A.
I need column A, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
you'll notice where he has stock options total, ETFs total, all of those based upon the criteria are ignored because there is no match. Now, what I had to do with the pivot table, I had to not use that row. That row kind of, threw things off for me.
Right, right.
I went back to the original data. The original data did not have the subtotal total there. So
Mhm.
if you go back to the original data, you can do a pivot table. But what the SUMIF did very nicely, it's
This is
matched.
well, what Dick Barrett did was, he still, puts in the total. Okay, I know what you mean, right? Because this total messes up everything. You
Yes,
know,
yes, yes.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. Normally, you would not have the total here. The only reason why Dick did it is so that he uses this for him to build his other table for the desired copy. That's the only reason why. I guess he did it that way. But we could.
If you look at what Dick did as one option, Henry, you look at what you did with the SUMIFs as a second option. If you look at a pivot table, that's the third option.
Right.
I mean, there's really nothing that's wrong. It's just a different way and what you prefer. How do you prefer to do it?
Right. That's the beauty of Excel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me show you the pivot table. Let me take the share the screen.
Okay. So let me close this. All right. No, I spent 14 minutes and 13 seconds on this workbook.
No, Henry.
Yeah. Okay. Let me close it. Okay, I close it.
You get an ooh and an ah because one thing that was very obvious is you spent a lot of time repairing that worksheet with the color coding, which made it very easy to follow.
Yeah.
So, you get an ooh and an ah on that.
Okay,
Thanks,
thank you.
Henry. That's a very good way to display things when you have the time to prepare it.
Why did you name the file though? It had something about cards in it. I didn't quite get that. You had cards.
No, that was from Dick Barrett's name
He
when he
called
sent me the spreadsheet.
he called it cards.
Yeah,
He can call it whatever it wants. It's in his
whatever he
file.
wants. Because I asked Dick Barrett, can you send me, what you did, last, the last meeting, so I can,
Okay.
work on it. You're using some ifs, so that's, that's why he called it.
Oh, okay. I thought you called it cards. I didn't quite
No,
get
no,
that. Okay. All right.
no.
All right. This is. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
All right. What I essentially had to do, I went back to the raw data. It eliminated that row that said total.
Some total, yeah.
Okay. Now these do not have to be grouped. They do not have to be sorted. Also note that the values. Now, did you put in this, or did Dick put these in?
No, Dick Barrett did this,
He put
and what he used was he used the random
yeah,
function.
yeah, okay.
Okay, and when I first worked on this, I do a copy, paste it, and then all of a sudden, how come the numbers aren't the same? Oh, Dick Barrett used a rand between function.
Okay, so I went back to the raw data,
Yeah.
and this is what I want it to look like. I want to have different brokerages, A, B, and C,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to have different products.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you look at the development of a pivot table, I'll show you how to start it. But basically, it's going to take product type, values, brokerage, and you have to assemble them in terms of a two-dimensional display of, I wanted my brokerage to be my column headings. I wanted my product type to be my row headings.
Mm-hmm.
I could have the other way around. Doesn't look very nice the other way around. But you could with a pivot table, you can move things around. And what I wanted to have calculated would be the sum of each essentially an intersection of the product type and the brokerage. So whatever product, say ETFs, CEFs, brokerage, that's an intersection. The intersection of these two gets summed up in the values. And if I had any others that were like that, like down here, another ETF, CEFs, brokerage B, that gets summed up in the values. So let me put it back the way I had it, and I'm going to build it from scratch. Questions before I do that?
Control Z, or undo.
We're doing more with undo today. I mean, we're mastering undo. Geez, I never thought we'd master undo. Okay, undo, undo, undo. Hey!
Yay.
All right, undo. So how do you build a pivot table from scratch, knowing that you want to end up with this? So you saw the values change here because he has random. Let's not play games with that today. Let's copy those. And we're going to do a paste special of values. So these are now fixed. No more random numbers here. And I know my total, my grand total, as a double check, is 2431. So I'm going to build this. I'm going to build this pivot table by going to Insert. Oh, I have to be in the table. I have to be in the table itself. And I just do one cell, assuming everything is contiguous, no blank columns, no blank rows. And then I go to Insert Pivot Table. Now I know there's a recommended pivot table, but I'm going to do it from scratch. Pivot Table. From my table range. And what it does, you'll see the marching ants expanded to the perimeter, but it overshot again. So I'm going to hold the Shift key down and come up. There's where the Shift key also helps, Andy. I held the Shift key and I just clicked one row up. I did not want to include that value in my pivot table. I'm going to put it so we can see it. I'm going to put it in the existing worksheet. Normally I would put it in a new worksheet. And I'm going to say OK. Destination not valid. Oh, wait a minute. What's going on here?
You have to tell where you want to have your pivot
Select the
table
cell.
result.
Yeah, well, let's do the new.
E1.
No, just select the cell.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Up to E2.
There we go.
There you go.
Thank you. All right, so I have my data. Yeah, I have my data from the marching ants. It stopped at row 47. And I'm going to put on this existing spreadsheet and say OK. And now I have to build it. So to build it, I decide what do I want for my row headings. I want my product. What do I want for my column headings? I want my brokerages. And now I want it to sum up the intersection of those two, product and brokerage. And I'm missing something at the bottom. My screen is not showing.
What are you looking for, Fred?
I'm looking for an okie dokie button.
Maximize your.
Oh, no, there was no okie dokie needed. Okay. I thought there was an okie dokie button. Okay, so there we have the intersection, and that value doesn't look like it's right. Okay.
Did you redo your formula at the bottom?
What I'm going to do is wait, what was this the problem down here? I think this is the problem down here. Okay, what I'm going to do is a right click and I'm going to do a refresh. Aha. Don't ask me why I had to do it then, but when I was working with the random numbers, it was driving me crazy. I had to do a refresh. So the 2431, it's a double check. That's the sum of all the investments that Dick has. And then by doing the pivot table, it shows it summarized. A, B, C. You might want to pretty it up and just send it to the right. I might want to change the column heading here to say what it is. I'm doing my brokerages. And I might want to change my row labels similarly to products. And that would be it. So here we have the same data done through three methods. Dick's method was subtotals. Henry's method was SUMIFs. And I just, because it was raised, the question was raised, could we do this as a pivot table? And the answer is yes, it lends itself very nicely to a pivot table. Questions, comments?
Can you undo the sort in the products list?
In the products list, undo the sort?
Yeah, the sort, the way you have it in the left in column A may have meaning.
Well,
And it's sorted alphabetically in your pivot table.
No, it's not sorted. Well, the sort, yeah, the sorting. The sorting is independent. You can do sorting in the pivot table. Yeah, there's independent sorting in the pivot table. But let's take this. Are you saying I should change this completely? Does it matter if this is changed? Is that what you're saying, John?
No, I'm saying that the way he has it in column A may have meaning. It's listed in an order: stock options, then certificates, and I don't see annuities at the top. Stocks comes before certificates. But in the pivot table, it sorted it alphabetically.
All right. The question is, can we do a custom sort? So
why did, I mean, it decided that it should sort it differently than the way it was in the original data.
let's see if we can use a custom sort. Let's go up to home.
Well, why don't we form a custom sort list, right? Like we did before, you know, with the president's name.
The pivot table is the one that decided that it should sort it differently than the way the data was given to it.
Right.
Can we adjust something in the pivot table construction to not do that?
More sort options. Manually, you can drag, or manually you can drag and rearrange.
And then more options.
Something is in the way. I don't see.
More options at the bottom.
Okay. Sort automatically. Sort by first key sort order.
Oh well.
Brad?
Yes.
Pivot table does things to me that I don't expect.
Is that Rich?
Yes, Fred, this is Rich.
Hi, Rich.
I would try something, go and right-click inside the table.
Pivot
And you'll have a
table.
drop down, just inside the table anywhere, that's it. Right-click and the drop down should give you somewhere, let me expand this.
So
Field setting, no, options, pivot table options at the bottom of that should allow you to do certain things. Where did you go? All right. So test that if this is what you're looking for.
How about custom lists when sorting?
Yeah.
The layout,
Where do you see that?
layout and format? The layout and format tab.
That's it, layout and format.
Nope, excuse me, totals and filtering. Second tab. There you go, last one.
Use custom lists when sorting.
That's it. Now that options table helps in other ways too.
So you basically build a custom sort order that you want,
What about
and
if you
then
clear
it was sorted that way.
Clear the checkbox for custom sort.
Clear it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was already selected.
Not
No.
that one.
No, not that one.
It's the
Totals and
second tab.
filters. Second
Second
tab.
tab.
Totals and filters.
Yeah.
Let's see what that does. Refresh.
you have to check it to put
Now,
your sorting order in.
well, no, thank you, Fred. That was very good showing us.
Here's custom sort, but that
Sort.
doesn't give us,
So you build a new custom sort,
Yeah.
Yeah, but
like you did for the presidents.
right. But the thing is that pivot table decided that it should put them in a different order than the way the data was given to it.
yeah.
Right.
Well, it always does. It always puts it in ascending or descending. Those are the only choices I remember seeing. No matter what the database shows, it could be in any which way. It's always been my experience, the pivot will create an ascending or descending order for that.
Wow.
Now,
But it is possible that the data, the way you're giving it, is in an order that's meaningful, even though it's not alphabetical.
This is the manual method.
Yeah, man, yeah.
Time we figure out a custom sort here.
So you can just move it around in the report.
Right.
Yeah, manually, yeah.
Yeah.
well, there's a way of fixing it so that when you refresh back to the options table, you can fix it each time you refresh. It stays the same and doesn't change. So now, if you refreshed, would that change?
No.
Uh-huh. Okay.
That's good.
Yeah, basically, you drag items to rearrange them.
All right. I think this is very interesting that we've
Yeah.
dissected and trisected this original shopping list and brokerage
Hey,
list.
Brett,
Handy.
there's also an option in there, without going crazy. I'm not exactly sure what it was, but right now you have enough there that it's going to be real easy to find out. Go click on one of the cells in there. Certificates of deposit is fine. Right mouse and try again the pivot table options. The display tab. Click on the checkbox in the middle there, classic pivot table. It's right. Select that. Click the OK. There you go. See how your name's changed over there? Product type and brokerage. It picked up. If you do an undo, you'll see you have brokerage was misspelled and you had products rather than product type. By selecting that option, it'll pull the data from your data. It'll pull the labels from your data.
Ooh. Ooh,
I get an ooh
okay.
and an ah.
That's the classic. That's a classic style. All right.
Yes. But instead of having to go in there and modify the labels,
Mm.
It picked up the label
Right.
and it left those other labels in the order that you started with.
Did
Right.
it pick up? Did it pick up the order here? No.
Yep, yep,
no.
yep. It pick up the order.
No. No, it didn't.
Yeah,
Annuities,
Certificate
cash.
deposit.
No, no, no. Annuities in the wrong spot.
I did this manually. This I did
Right.
manually.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
so it didn't undo the manual, but
Right.
there was another item in that thing. So that's worth investigating as one becomes more proficient with pivot tables. Sometimes you
Okay.
have to look at those things because they're not exactly what you think it should do.
And then only because I've been on the receiving side so often of Fred giving homework, I'm going to throw out something that if you really have insomnia and you want to try something, Fred, could you drag your over in the pivot table fields, the value, no, over on the right, further to the right, the fields themselves, where you're designing the pivot table?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, grab values again up top and bring it down into the values down below.
Bring it a second time?
Correct.
It doesn't do it.
Didn't do anything.
No.
Oh,
Oh.
okay.
There you go. Now take the drop down on the second one to the right. And value field settings. Now you have all kinds of stuff. Scroll down in that list there. Just select count of numbers or
Yeah, count is simple to illustrate what you're saying. Yeah.
or no, go back there, change that again. Go back to that same dialog box. Value field settings. And on the second tab there, show values as. Take show value. Excuse me, that's why I've been muted. Take the drop down there for no calculation. Percent of percent of total, row total, grand total, whatever. Select. Oh, you already have it. Select there. Okay. Click the OK. Now you can minimize your pivot table fields or just scroll over to the right to see the results. And here, if you select, say, percent of grand total, you can see the breakdown of the numbers. It's
Right.
just, it's the same numbers that you've had.
Right.
It's just doing a little bit more arithmetic.
Right.
You want to see the breakdown, you know, what are you using brokerage A for? Well, primarily mutual funds and ETFs.
Right. And as we all know, when you have a pivot table, you can drill down. This 325, you want to see where it comes from. You just double click on it. It takes
Correct.
you to just the mutual funds on a separate worksheet. It gives you
Right.
the breakdown for that.
Which is an excellent reminder for Henry's message window. That's where, if you're giving this to somebody, if somebody else is going to be using it, they get this in Henry's message box or message window. You would say, you select it, you'll see the data. Do not save this worksheet. You can play to your heart's content, but don't save anything. You can delete the worksheets. You don't have to do anything. You'll be right back where you started from. But you can put you can have a number of values in there. Percentage of totals. It depends on what you want to look for. But there are plenty of options. If somebody ever has a tough time going to sleep, you can explore all the options.
Yeah, but when I want to go to sleep, I don't think of my financial data. I stay
Okay.
clear
That gives
away
you-
from.
That gives you
From
nightmares, eh?